I think this is similar to our spiritual lives. As we try to become like Jesus, how do we know that we're doing it? How do we even know? How do we measure growth in our spiritual lives? What does it look like to measure growth in our faith? Now, I think that there seems to be two ways that we've tried to do this, sort of like two ends of a measurement spectrum. Okay, so on the one hand, there's legalism. There's rule following. So like with legalism, growth is determined by measuring things like how often and how consistently you read the Bible, or how long and well-formed your prayers are, how filled up your journal is, if you've skipped any dates in said journal. Legalism measures like the amount of money that you're giving to a church, to a charity, to a T. Like every cent measures your faithfulness. For some of us, legalism measured like how high above the knee our clothes fell. Like gave us the understanding that faithfulness equaled how little skin was showing at any given time. I think for some, particularly in older generations, legalism measured faith in whether or not you drank alcohol or danced or played cards. That was true in my family. And I get that this one can be tough because there can be a really thin line between rule following and intentionality, right? We do need intentionality. And to be fair, legalism does measure something. It does measure something. But again, it's about the kind of growth being measured. So like, how is it that legalism teaches us to live? Legalism is learning to live in obligation. It's learning to live by fear of that obligation. As theologian Dallas Willard says, the most important thing in your life is not what you do, it's who you are becoming. I feel like learning to live in obligation and fear is not learning to live as Jesus lived. I'm not sure that that's it. So then on the other side of the spectrum, right, legalism, and on this side, there's what maybe we would call it indulgence. Like you're measuring growth with sort of like a hedonistic kind of lean. It's the opposite end of the spectrum. It's sort of like abandoning this faith of legalism, which is controlled by obligation and fear, and then embracing like a faith which is dictated by comfort. Comfort. Like, is this the easiest way? Will I have to experience any kind of discomfort? Will I have to be challenged? There's a pursuit of something, kind of, but it seems like this leads to almost like an ambitionless pursuit of faith. What are we measuring? Are we measuring like our level of comfort? Are we measuring our ability to like tune out and avoid difficulty or conflict or discomfort? Like again, this is definitely a way to learn to live, but I'm not sure that that's learning to live as Jesus lived either. So if our aim is learning to live as Jesus would if he were in our place, it doesn't seem that legalism or indulgence is going to help us a ton. I think mostly because both of those systems of measurement and growth depend almost solely on ourselves to do it. Now, we do have a call, right? We have a call to, we've talked about this, to repent, to change our minds, and then to believe, to act like it's true. Like, that's our calling. And learning to live like Jesus doesn't just depend on us. So again, our verse from 2 Corinthians, all of us are looking with unveiled faces at the glory of the Lord as if we were looking in a mirror. We are being transformed into that same image from one degree of glory to the next degree of glory. This comes from the Lord, who is the Spirit. Who we are becoming is first and foremost a work of God through God's Spirit given to us in grace.